I walked up the snow-covered driveway to my childhood home, arms filled with carefully wrapped gifts. The mansion looked like something from a Christmas card, twinkling lights outlining its grand architecture. I took a deep breath, hoping this year would be different. As I entered, I caught my sister Amanda whispering to our cousin. They stopped abruptly, exchanging knowing glances. Later, passing by my father James Harrison's study, I heard his unmistakable voice. "Adam is officially out of the will. It is done." My stomach dropped. The Christmas spirit shattered around me like broken ornaments. Before I continue this story about a Christmas gift my family never expected, let me know where you are watching from in the comments, and click subscribe if you have ever felt misunderstood by your family. Trust me, what happened next changed everything. The Harrison name meant something in Chicago. My father James had built Harrison Construction from nothing 35 years ago, turning it into a multi-million-dollar business that dominated commercial projects across the Midwest. Our family mansion sat in an exclusive suburb, a monument to success with its 6 bedrooms, indoor pool, and 3-acre grounds. We also owned a vacation home on Lake Michigan, where we spent summers sailing and hosting lavish parties for business associates. My mother Eleanor managed the family finances with the precision of a surgeon, multiplying investments and ensuring the Harrison fortune would outlast generations. She had always been the practical one, keeping my father grounded when his ambitions soared too high. Together they were an unstoppable force in both business and Chicago society. My older sister Amanda had followed the predetermined path perfectly. Harvard Business School graduate, married to a banker from a good family, 2 perfect children, and current marketing director at Harrison Construction. She was being groomed to take over the company, eventually her office right next to our father's. Uncle Timothy, my father's younger brother, served as chief financial officer with his children Lucas and Sophia, also working in the family business. Then there was me, Adam Harrison, the disappointment. I had checked all the right boxes initially. Phillips Exeter Academy, then Yale University with a business major. But during my senior year, something changed. An inspiring history professor showed me that teaching could shape young minds in ways I found meaningful. Against my family's horrified objections, I pursued a master's in education and became a high school history teacher at a public school in Madison, Wisconsin. "You are wasting your potential and your birthright," my father had thundered when I told him my plans. "Teachers are important, but anyone can be a teacher. You were born to lead Harrison Construction." My mother had been more subtle but equally devastating. "Darling, think about your future. Teachers live paycheck to paycheck. Is that really the life you want?" The unspoken implication being that my choice reflected poorly on their success. For 5 years, our relationship had been strained but civil. I visited on major holidays, endured lectures about my career choices, and tried to explain that my happiness mattered more than money. The tension had become our normal, a chilly distance that seemed unbridgeable. Then came the breakup with Natalie, my girlfriend of 5 years. We had built a life together in Madison, but ultimately she wanted someone with more ambition, more financial security. "I love you, Adam, but I cannot see a future where we are not always struggling," she had said while packing her things. The apartment felt empty after she left my chosen life, suddenly looking hollow without her in it. When my mother called in early December with an unusually warm invitation for Christmas, saying, "Things will be different this time, Adam. Your father is softening," I desperately wanted to believe her. Maybe my family had finally accepted my choices. Maybe the Harrison Christmas tradition could feel like home again. I spent weeks creating a special gift for them, a handmade photo album chronicling our family history. Old photographs from fishing trips with Dad, baking cookies with Mom, building snowmen with Amanda. Memories of a time when our connections had not been conditional on career choices. It was my peace offering, a reminder of what family meant beyond business and money. The moment I arrived at the family mansion on December 23rd, I sensed something was wrong. A sleek black Audi was parked in the circular driveway, which I recognized as belonging to Richard Blackwell, the family lawyer. Business during Christmas was unusual, even for my work-obsessed father. My mother greeted me with a kiss that barely touched my cheek. My father shook my hand firmly but avoided my eyes. Amanda gave a perfunctory hug before rushing back to her husband and children. Only Uncle Timothy seemed genuinely pleased to see me, though I later realized his warmth was fueled by expensive scotch. My cousins Lucas and Sophia were suspiciously friendly, asking about my teaching job with exaggerated interest. Throughout dinner, the conversation revolved around Harrison Construction, their latest projects, and Amanda's successful marketing campaign that had secured a major contract with Westlake Development. No one asked about my life or my students. "Did you see the quarterly reports, Adam?" "The company is breaking records," my father said, though it felt more like a pointed reminder of what I had rejected rather than an attempt to include me. That night, as I walked past his study to get water from the kitchen, I heard my name. I paused, not intending to eavesdrop, until I heard the words will and inheritance in the same sentence. My father and Richard Blackwell were working late, apparently on matters directly related to me. "It is done, then. Adam is officially out of the will," my father said with the same tone he used when closing difficult business deals. "The new arrangement gives 75% to Amanda, with the remainder divided between Lucas and Sophia, contingent on their continued employment with the company." Richard Blackwell, his voice smooth, as polished marble, responded, "The paperwork is complete, James. We just need your signature, and Eleanor's." "Are you certain about removing Adam entirely? Most clients include all children, even with unequal distributions." "He abandoned his responsibility to the Harrison legacy," my father stated flatly. "I built this company to last generations, not to support a son who chose to teach history instead of making it. The money would be wasted on him." "And Eleanor agrees?" Richard asked. "She understands what is necessary to protect our assets and the company future," my father replied with finality. I stood frozen in the hallway, blood rushing in my ears. The casual cruelty of being written out of not just the business but the family itself felt like a physical blow. My breath caught in my chest as I carefully backed away from the door. Once in the safety of my childhood bedroom, the full weight of the betrayal crashed down. The carefully wrapped photo album sat mockingly on my dresser. All those memories I had cherished apparently meant nothing compared to my refusal to join the family business. I spent hours staring at the ceiling, replaying years of interactions through this new lens. Had they always seen me as nothing more than a potential business asset? Had their love always been conditional? The next morning, Christmas Eve, I could barely look at anyone over breakfast. My mother commented that I seemed tired, but no one pressed when I mumbled something about trouble sleeping. After an hour of mindless small talk and avoiding eye contact with my father, I could no longer contain myself. I followed him into his study when he excused himself to check some emails. "Were you planning to tell me that I am out of the will? Or was I supposed to find out after you died?" I asked without preamble. My father looked up, sharply surprised, quickly replaced by defensiveness. "You were eavesdropping. I overheard my own disinheritance accidentally." "Hardly the point, Dad." He sighed heavily, removing his glasses and placing them carefully on the desk. "These decisions are not made lightly, Adam. The will reflects what is best for the family legacy." "The family legacy? Or the family business? Because those are not the same thing." "For the Harrisons, they are inseparable," he replied coldly. My mother appeared in the doorway, clearly having overheard. "Adam, please understand. This is about responsibility. Your sister has dedicated her life to the company. Your cousins as well. You chose a different path. So my punishment for becoming a teacher is being erased from the family." My voice cracked despite my efforts to remain calm. "Do not be dramatic," my father snapped. "You have your life in Madison, a job you claim to love. This company and this fortune will go to those who deserve it, who have worked for it, who understand its value." "I understand value differently than you do," I replied. "I value helping students discover their potential. I value making a difference in lives beyond just making money." "Spare me the noble teacher speech," my father dismissed with a wave. "We have heard it before. The decision is made. The papers will be signed tonight." My mother at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. "We will always love you, Adam. This is simply about securing the business future." I looked between them, these strangers who shared my blood. "You have a strange way of showing love." That night, unable to sleep and filled with restless energy, I found myself drawn back to my father's study. The door was unlocked. I told myself I just wanted to see the will with my own eyes to confirm the reality of my excision from the family legacy. But what I found was far more shocking than my personal disinheritance. My father's computer was still logged in. Financial documents were organized in folders on the desktop. As I began opening files, a disturbing picture emerged. Harrison Construction was in serious trouble. The Westlake contract that Amanda had supposedly secured had actually fallen through 3 months ago. The company was carrying significant debt from an expansion project that had gone over budget. Projected financials showed potential bankruptcy within 6 months. Further documents revealed asset transfers to Amanda's name and to shell companies I had never heard of. Properties, investment accounts, artwork. My father was moving assets to protect them from creditors. My removal from the will was just one part of a larger scheme to circle the wagons against financial disaster. I sat back in my father's leather chair stunned. The perfect Harrison empire was crumbling, and instead of asking for help or being honest with the extended family, my parents were protecting what they could while cutting me loose entirely. Christmas morning arrived with forced cheer. Expensive gifts were exchanged in the formal living room, everyone careful to maintain the facade of family harmony. I mechanically opened packages containing a cashmere sweater premium whiskey and a luxury watch I would never wear. My handmade photo album was received with polite appreciation but quickly set aside for more impressive gifts. The tension reached its breaking point at Christmas dinner. The formal dining room gleamed with crystal and silver, a feast worthy of a magazine spread laid out before us. Uncle Timothy, deep into his 4th glass of wine, raised his glass. To the Harrison legacy, he announced his words slightly slurred, and to the new will that ensures it stays with those who deserve it. Sorry, nephew. Business is business. A horrified silence fell over the table. My father glared at his brother, while my mother stared fixedly at her plate. Amanda looked uncomfortable while her husband appeared confused. My cousins exchanged smirks, no longer bothering to hide their satisfaction. Something snapped inside me. I stood slowly, placing my napkin beside my untouched turkey. Since Uncle Timothy has so graciously brought it up, let us talk about the Harrison legacy. I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Let us talk about the failing business that is 3 months from insolvency. Let us discuss the Westlake contract that fell through, but that you are all pretending was secured. Let us talk about the asset transfers designed to hide money from creditors. The blood drained from my father's face. Amanda gasped. My mother reached for her water glass with a trembling hand. You know nothing, my father said, but his voice lacked conviction. I know everything, I countered. I saw the financial reports, the projections, the desperate emails to investors. I know that cutting me out of the will is the least of the Harrison family secrets right now. I looked around the table at their shocked faces. You did not just betray me. You betrayed everything you claimed to stand for. Integrity, honor, family loyalty. It was all conditional, and now that conditions are changing, you are scrambling to save yourselves while throwing me overboard. Without waiting for a response, I walked out, leaving behind a stunned silence. In my room, I paced for hours, alternating between rage and a strange, unexpected sense of clarity. My family had shown me exactly who they were and what they valued. The question was, what would I do with that knowledge? I called my college roommate Jordan Taylor, now a successful corporate finance specialist. After swearing him to secrecy, I described the situation, sending him copies of key documents I had photographed. The company has good bones, Adam, he said, after reviewing everything. Solid reputation, innovative technology, trained workforce. The management is the problem. Overexpansion, poor contract negotiation, and frankly, your father's increasingly outdated business model. Can it be saved? I asked. With the right leadership and investment? Absolutely. But it needs a complete restructuring and fresh capital. Your father would have to give up significant control. Throughout Christmas night, I developed a plan. I analyzed every document I had seen, identified weaknesses and opportunities, and drafted a comprehensive rescue strategy. Years of teaching history had taught me about patterns of rise and fall, about resilience and adaptation. I understood people and organizations in ways my business-focused family never had. By morning, I had called Michael Thompson, a venture capitalist I had met through a former student's father. Michael had always been impressed by my analytical mind and had once offered me a job I had declined. Now I needed his help. We met at a hotel near my parents' house at 7 a.m. on December 26th. I laid out everything: the company's situation, its potential, and my proposed solution. Michael asked tough questions, made suggestions, and finally nodded. "I will put in $10 million for 40%, but only if you come on as strategy director," he said. "I invest in people first, ideas second. I trust you, Adam." When I returned to the family home with Michael and his legal team, I called an emergency family meeting. My father initially refused until Michael mentioned his credentials and investment firm. They gathered in the living room, confusion and suspicion on their faces. I stood before them calm in a way I had never been in their presence. "You cut me out of the will because you thought I had nothing to contribute to the Harrison legacy I began. Today I am offering you a gift, a way out of the financial disaster you are facing." I introduced Michael, who briefly outlined the investment offer. My father started to object, but Michael raised his hand. "Before you respond, listen to your son's analysis and proposal. It is the most impressive turnaround plan I have seen in years." For the next hour, I presented my strategy for saving Harrison Construction. Point by point, I addressed the overexpansion, the outdated pricing models, the inefficient organizational structure. I outlined a new approach that would preserve the company's strengths while modernizing its operations. I demonstrated how my years as a teacher had given me insights into communication and people management that were sorely lacking in the current leadership. When I finished, there was silence. My father stared at me with an unreadable expression. Amanda looked stunned. My mother was crying quietly. "This offer expires at noon," Michael said into the silence. "And it is contingent on Adam joining the executive team as strategy director with real decision-making power." My father finally spoke, his voice rough. "You want to take over my company." "I want to save it," I corrected him. "The company you built is worth saving, even if our relationship might not be." 6 months later, Harrison Construction was showing signs of recovery. The restructuring had been painful but necessary. My father had struggled with his diminished role, but even he had to admit the company was healthier than it had been in years. The Westlake contract had been renegotiated successfully. New projects were coming in. I worked long hours as strategy director, applying everything I had learned as a teacher about motivation, clear communication, and playing to people's strengths. I maintained my apartment in Madison, but leased a small place near the company headquarters for weekdays. My relationship with my family was evolving slowly. My father initially treated me with cold professionalism, but gradually began to respect my business decisions. When I successfully negotiated a difficult contract that he had been pursuing for years, he actually said, "Good work, Adam," without any qualifiers. My mother tried harder, inviting me to lunch regularly and making awkward but sincere attempts to understand my life choices. Amanda and I developed a better working relationship than we had ever had as siblings. One evening, working late, she admitted she had known about the financial problems, but had been too afraid to challenge our father. "You were always the brave one," she said quietly. "I envied that about you." I was surprised. "I always thought you had everything I lacked." She laughed without humor. "We are quite a pair, are not we? Each thinking the other had it better." While rebuilding the family business, I was careful to maintain boundaries. I declined Sunday dinners if I needed space. I made it clear that my involvement with the company was professional and did not erase the betrayal I had experienced. Forgiveness would come slowly, if at all. I also began building a life outside the Harrison orbit. I volunteered teaching business classes at a community center. I made new friends in Chicago. And I met Sophie Brennan, the financial analyst Michael had recommended we hire. She was brilliant, straightforward, and found my unusual career path fascinating rather than disappointing. Most executives I know wish they had done something meaningful before entering the corporate world, she told me on our third date. You have perspective they lack. By the following Christmas, Harrison Construction had secured a new round of financing based on its improved performance. The Westlake contract was back on track, bigger than before. The family gathered at the mansion again, but the atmosphere could not have been more different. My father, looking older but more relaxed than I had seen him in years, raised his glass. To Adam, who saw what we could not, and had the courage to act. The Harrison legacy is stronger because of you. Later that evening, he took me aside and handed me an envelope. Inside was the new will, with assets divided equally between Amanda and me, along with provisions for my cousins. This does not fix what happened, he said, meeting my eyes directly. but it is a start. I nodded, accepting the gesture for what it was. The truth was, I no longer cared about the inheritance. The experience had taught me that true worth comes from within, not from external validation or material wealth. My gift to my family had ultimately been a gift to myself as well, freeing me from the need for their approval. That night, as Sophie and I walked through the snowy garden behind the house, she asked if I regretted returning to help the family that had rejected me. No, I answered honestly. I learned that sometimes the most powerful response to injustice is not revenge, but creating something better. I discovered strength I never knew I had. I looked back at the house windows glowing with Christmas lights. The greatest inheritance is not money or property, but the freedom to define your own worth and live authentically. What inheritance would truly matter most to you? A material one, or the freedom to live authentically? Let me know in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about finding strength in difficult family situations. Share this with someone who might need to hear that their worth is not defined by family expectations. Thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes the best gift we can give others is showing them who we truly are.